Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. This week we're on to the final steps of the stock Tamiya flatbed build. We've already got most of the way through, it's just the finishing touches. Bag D is mostly full of the chains and the wheel chocks, some screws and a load of hooks to fit the chains. Right, step 17, the front board. We'll need 4 M3 flange nuts, 4 3x10 washer head screws, 2 D2s, 2 D11s and front board, which we're going to need to peel off the protective plastic. First then, we'll fit the D11s. They make up a blanking plug for the wiring hole in the board. We pop them into the hole, give them a good squeeze, and that's about it. They're not the tightest fit, but I'm sure they're going to stay put well enough. To fit the board, we offer it up to the front of the trailer, and we use a couple of the screws to line it up, just loosely sat in the holes for now. Now from the inside we fit a D2. We need to hold the screw in place and wobble it on. Things are a bit tight, but it should find its way all the way up to the metalwork. The tricky bit is threading on a nut. Some tweezers or small pliers might help a bit if you've got chunky fingers. As usual, we'll just leave it slightly loose until all the screws are in. The other D2 gets fitted in the same way, and when all screws are in, we can go around and nip them up so they're nice and tight. And well, that's the front board fitted. Step 18, stakes. There's quite a few bits on this one, but just lots of the same assembly, so not too bad to put together. We need 10 M3 flange nuts, 2 M3 nylock nuts, 10 M3x18s, 10 M2 plain nuts, 10 M2x5s, 10 hooks, and 10 D4s. On the inside of a D4 there's a couple of hex-shaped holes. We need to drop a nut into the one near the middle. Then on the other side we position a hook with the hook facing downwards, and we attach it with one of the M2x5s. Nip it up, and now for the fun bit, repeat 9 more times. Next, the stakes get fitted to the deck. On the back they have a bit that fits over the aluminium angle. We just need to feed in one of the long screws, through the stake, through the aluminium, and on the back we thread on a nut and nip it up. Again, there's 9 more to do, which is always fun. Still, the final effect is pretty good, and they're surprisingly sturdy too. The last bit is popping the 2 nylocks into the hex-shaped holes at the rear of the deck. There's nothing to hold them in just yet, so be careful not to drop them out. Step 19, the wood deck. For this bit, there's no screws to find. We just need a stack of wood strips and some double-sided tape. The wood is very well strapped together, which is important as it's going to help keep the strips straight and not warp. All being well, they should go straight on without any fuss. But if they are warped, the standard trick is to soak them in some warm water for a few minutes, then carefully even out the warp and let them dry. These ones though are pretty much perfect, so they should work just fine as is. To attach the wood, we just use some tape strips from the kit. They stick to the top of the ribs. However, when we modify the trailer, we are going to need to remove the wood again, so I'm just going to stick a couple of strips on and not do all of them. It's all straightforward though. For access to a couple of the screws, we'll remove the front wheels. Then we can loosen all the screws that attach the side aluminium angles. Remember, they have a slot rather than a hole, so you can adjust the width for the wood deck. Now it's just a case of peeling the tape and laying the wood strips alternately. They should go in under the lip at the front and lay down nice and flat. Try and get them as tight up against each other as you can. There's a bit of leeway, but really not much. Once the strips are in, we can flip the trailer over and tighten up all the screws. Refit the wheels, and that's step 19 complete. I think it looks rather good. Step 20, the bumper. We need 2 3x10 self-tappers, 2 3x8 self-tappers, 6 M2 nuts, 6 M2x5 screws, the metal bumper bracket, 2 white rubber mud flaps, 2 metal strips to mount the mud flaps, 2 D1s, 2 D5s and a D6. The light buckets are quite a neat design. The 2 sides are identical. One just gets rotated 180 degrees and you use a separate centre section to tie it all together. The buckets will take 3 5mm LEDs. The only annoying bit is the lack of a clear lens. You only get 2 red and an orange per side. Okay, mud flaps. We need to pop 3 screws in through one of the metal strips and through a mud flap. The holes are a bit undersized, so you'll have to push the screws through. Now the flap offers up to the outside of the main bracket. The 3 screws go through 3 holes and we use 3 nuts on the back. They could do with a bit of thread lock, but we're going to be removing them again when we mod the trailer, so we're going to leave them dry. Do both sides and that's the mud flaps fitted. To mount the light buckets we need to hold D6 up to the bracket with the number plate side outwards. Then we offer up a light bucket with the rear cover and slot it into the hole in D6. While still holding it together, we can screw in a 3x8 in the outside hole, as usual leaving it slightly loose until all 4 screws are in. In the inner hole we use a 3x10. Same goes on the other side, then we can nip up all 4 screws. They only need to be bottomed out and not done up super tight. Step 21, fitting the lights to the chassis. A super quick one, we just need 2 M3x12s and of course the chassis. At the rear we added a pair of M3 nylocks in a previous step. So all we do is offer up the bumper and thread in the 2 screws. Nip them up and that's the bumper fitted. Step 22, the chains. Now this one's quick to explain but does take a little while to actually do. We only need 10 M2x6s, the chains and the chassis. All we do is post a chain through the top hole of a stake. Pop a screw into the end loop and screw it into the lower hole. Trying to keep hold of the screw while getting the thread started is a bit of a pain. Even with a good fitting screwdriver, the chain has a tendency of pulling the screw sideways. Now we can flip the chassis round and repeat for the other side of the chain. Then we do the same 4 more times and that's the full set fitted. Quite a neat setup. The only thing I think I'll do differently is to have the nuts that attach the stakes to the chassis captured. As it stands, if you remove the stakes, the nuts are just going to drop off the end and rattle around under the wood deck. And of course, the deck being stuck down with double-sided tape, it's going to be an absolute pain to fish them out. A minor thing really, but it would be nice to be able to switch it around for different loads. The only other step in the manual involves the stickers. But again, we're going to be modding the trailer, so we won't be using them just yet. There's also some suggested loads, which is handy, plus a bit of info on coupling up the trailer and the MFC light kit. At the end of the day, it's just a trailer. It's never going to be as exciting as a truck, but for what it is, it's an excellent build and will make a great base for mods. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing next week. I haven't got anything filmed yet. We might look at starting the trailer conversion, or maybe catch up on one of the other projects that's been on pause for the last few weeks. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Like if you like, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment if there's something on your mind. Bye guys!